It's over. The 2024 Major League Baseball season concluded. The 2024 World Series is over. And the Los Angeles Dodgers are the World Series champions. Here to discuss it on episode number 55 of Hitting for the Cycle is Ben Kruse, my usual co-host. And this time we're joined by Nick Morgasen, the founder of the ETB network. And happy Halloween, guys. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I know obviously it isn't as a fun as day as for you guys, but I do want to just really quickly say, all jokes aside, congrats to both of you guys on a good season. You obviously got through bunch of really good teams. I know a lot of people weren't saying we're great. With the baseball season, I know a lot of teams at times it's tough to get to the top. And as Tom Brady says, one of my legends, he said, there's only one team that goes home happy, and everybody else has to go back to the drawing board. So just know that specifically, it sucks, obviously, in the World Series to be the team that doesn't get there. But just remember that you guys had a lot of fun, exciting moments. Obviously, bringing Juan Soto. Hopefully, he'll be able to come back to you guys, and I think he will. But we'll see what happens there. But you guys had a great year, and tippy cap for sure on everything. Also, congratulations to Los Angeles Dodgers 2024 World Series. We'll talk more about it. Just happy Halloween, everyone. I'm obviously having what I can wear here. Everything else is going well, and crazy how we're already in essentially November.
I mean, this is a spooky season. I guess you could say the Yankees got spooked out of the World Series, if that's how you really want to put it. But trust me, this whole episode is going to be therapy plus frustration for the two Yankee fans sitting in this room. But let's not waste any time. I'll let you do what you got to do, and then we can go to the episode.
Yeah, so we're going to get into it all, but before we do, obviously, please follow Hitting for the Cycle on Facebook, X, and Instagram at HFTC ETB. Follow the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network. Follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. And finally, listen to us on whatever platforms you listen to your podcasts on.
And one more time for this overall show, this episode is presented to you guys by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports is best enjoyed together. Join us for that was yesterday, but we had an NBA whip around yesterday. It's kind of like red zone for NFL or anybody that knows that, but we had that yesterday. But regardless, join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB network to find out more, including our stuff like last night, including our live stream schedule. We're going to have some more stuff now with the baseball season being over. Mostly basketball. We'll definitely have a lot of stuff as well. We even had some World Series games that kind of popped up. So Playback we're sponsored with, and we have a lot of great stuff that we put on there. So make sure to tune into all that fun stuff.
All right, so let's get into it. So, yes, if you've been living under a rock, the Los Angeles Dodgers are the 2024 World Series champions. It's their 8th World Championship overall. They're second in 5 seasons, if you're including the 2020 World Series, and they're first in a full season since 1988. And obviously, the Dodgers have been to the postseason many, many times over the past 10 to 15 years, really dating back to like 2008, if I'm not mistaken. They've been in the postseason pretty much almost every single season. They've missed the postseason maybe once or twice in that span. I know they didn't make it in 2010, but really since 2008, they've been a constant in the Major League Baseball postseason picture. But for the most part, they just never really went that far in the postseason. They were always getting eliminated in the League Division Series and the League Championship Series. And a lot of guys have come and gone throughout these years. One constant on that team, though, was Clayton Kershaw, who became kind of the face of Dodger postseason failures for his inability to come through when it matters most. It wasn't until 2017 that the Dodgers finally returned to the World Series for the first time since that 1988 World Championship, taking the Astros to the limit in that classic and controversial 2017 World Series. Unfortunately for the Dodgers, they came out on the losing end, losing an anticlimactic Game 7 at home. Obviously, that 2017 World Series is all clouded by the sign stealing scandal that the Astros were involved in. But the Dodgers still had a good year, and they did return to the World Series 1 year later against Ben's Boston Red Sox, but they were no match in that World Series against that Red Sox team. That team was just a dynamic force, and no matter who the Red Sox were going to face in that World Series, they had no shot, and the Red Sox took care of them in 5 games that year. Then the Dodgers returned to the World. Well, they didn't return to the World Series. Then they came up short in 2019, losing in 5 games in the National League Division Series to the Washington Nationals due to Howie Kendrick's dramatic grand slam. And then came 2020. Obviously, during the offseason, the Red Sox controversially traded Mookie Betts to the Dodgers that offseason. And the Dodgers finally went all the way in the weirdest, most bizarre baseball season the world had seen, probably since 1994, when there was no World Series because of the strike. The Dodgers, however, did win the World Series in that shortened 60-game season. However, there was still a sense of this didn't feel right, or this didn't feel like legitimate, because it wasn't a full season, and all the playoff games were being played at neutral sites, and there was a limited amount of fans that they would allow in the stadiums during that time period. So the Dodgers, remained focused and, returned to the 162 game format with Major League Baseball in 2021. They fell to the eventual world champion Atlanta Braves in 2022. They bring in Freddie Freeman. They win 111 games, but they get upset by their division rival San Diego Padres in the National League Division Series. And then last year, 2023, they win 100 games, but gets swept in the National League Division Series, this time by another division rival, the Arizona Diamondbacks, in 3 games. And then this year in 2024, they bring in the best player in baseball, Shohei Ohtani. They bring in Yoshinobu Yamamoto from Japan, and it looks like they finally get all the pieces that they need to go all the way. And despite some major concerns and questions about their pitching and their lack of success in previous postseasons, the Dodgers finally have gone all the way in a full 162-game season and defeated the New York Yankees in the 2024 World Series 4 games to 1. Freddie Freeman earned MVP honors, rightfully so. He had a tremendous fall classic. So much for that bad ankle. He made it look easy. He was hitting everything that the Yankees were giving him. And it's congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers. As a Yankee fan, it's always tough to say that whenever you lose a series. But yeah, the Dodgers definitely earned this series, and definitely means a lot to Los Angeles. And now they're finally going to have a parade to celebrate their achievements. So it's been a long time coming for the city of LA. They haven't had a celebration like this in a long time. The Los Angeles Dodgers finally got over the hump.
Yeah. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to my guy Mookie. That's for another World Series. 2018, he beat the Dodgers. Now he joins the Dodgers. Don't remind me, right? I know you already did, but I love Mookie to death, man. And he has 3 World Series since 2018. So really credit to him. Shohei Ohtani, credit to him for fighting it through. I know he definitely was playing hurt throughout a lot of this World Series after that slide that he had in Game 3. And even give credit to Aaron. I know that obviously Judge was on the other side, but give credit to Aaron Judge for really keep on battling, because it looked like he started kind of find some things in the last couple of days here. Just for both sides, right? Judge, Ohtani was supposed to be kind of the main 2 stars. They really didn't live up to it. Other guys really kind of lived up to it. So, but going back to the Dodgers really quick, this is, like you mentioned, Ryan, 8th World Series championship, and now the fans get to celebrate it, and the fans get to celebrate on a really special day because Fernando Valenzuela, who just passed away, was born on Friday, November 1st, which is going to be the day that the Dodgers have their parade. So I think it's going to be really, really an emotional day for LA, but also a day that they can celebrate everything for him and everything specifically for the Dodgers community. So, um, part of me wanted to, see more baseball come in Game 6, which looked like it was going to be the case, and we could talk about it. You guys could obviously talk about it. But at the other point, it's really cool to see that this parade's going to happen on a day that we remember a Dodger legend. So, but all in all, just congratulations to them. This pretty much can tell you guys that spending money does matter because a lot of people were like, well, you're talking about Ryan, the Dodgers postseason, getting out early, right? And they kept on fighting. They try to keep on going after it. And eventually they cracked it. And so, congratulations to them. And, congratulations, like I said before, to the Yankees on a great season. They battled them really tough to the end. And so I think the biggest thing now we can talk about, and you guys could obviously talk more about it specifically, is, the Dodgers did earn this for sure. They went obviously through the Padres, the Mets, and obviously you guys, and now obviously kind of on the other side now. Where do you guys feel like the Yankees came up short here?
Nick, do you want to pitch in a little bit?
Yeah. So the way I see this World Series, it was tough. It was the way this series went, and Ryan and I talked about this earlier. All right, guys, 1 second. My eyes are bothering me. Hold on.
Yeah, no problem. The World Series was kind of strange. You're definitely right. We were kind of expecting this to be, I think, a little closer of a World Series, and it was in terms of the scoring for the most part. But there was just a lot of bizarre plays that just happened throughout the course of this World Series, stuff that just came out of absolutely nowhere, and it only won 5 games. So in a way, it almost feels like it was almost anticlimactic in a way because it felt like this was destined to go at least 6 or 7 games. But the fact that it only won 5, we're going to talk about that because it was a strange series. Like nothing was ever really smooth. There was a lot of sloppy baseball. We're going to talk about that. And it was just the series was just all over the place in terms of what was going on, and there are a lot of people who were who were just doing things that they typically normally wouldn't do. How are you feeling, Nick? You feeling a little better?
Yeah, I'm good. Okay, so Game 1, Brian, you and I talked about this right off the top.
Yeah.
In Game 1, the managerial nonsense, I call it, from Aaron Boone. They were having such a great game. And then you get to the bullpen. First of all, you remove Garrett Cole way too early out of that game, in my opinion. 88 pitches, almost through 7 innings. Let him pitch. Why is he there? Why are you paying him so much money? Let him pitch. And then you put 2 lefties in the bullpen. Nestor Cortez, who I don't even understand why he's on the roster to begin with. He didn't pitch for 37 days. Take him off the roster. Let Tim Hill pitch. 1.59 ERA in the postseason. He's been dominating out of the bullpen. Let him pitch. Freeman, who has an injured leg, which, by the way, people were comparing that moment to Kirk Gibson. I don't really see the comparison, by the way. I just don't. I could debate that till the cows come home. But you throw him a meatball over the plate that he basically could hit out, and that changed the momentum for the whole series. So that's where I would start.
Yeah, it was a weird move. A couple weird moves, like you mentioned. I mean, I do agree. I thought Cole was pulled way too soon. Cole's a workhorse, and he has plenty of experience throwing over 100 pitches. And I mean, the only way that would have made sense to me pulling Cole out that early was if he was if he was pitching on 3 days rest, and they were planning on using him for a Game 4 or a Game 7. That was the only reason that would be the only logical explanation for me, but they weren't planning on doing that. So I agree with you there. I thought that they pulled Cole out way too soon. And the move to Nestor was baffling to me too. I mean, Nestor, like you mentioned, hadn't pitched in over a month, and Tim Hill had been the Yankees specialist, the lefty specialist the Yankees had been going to in the postseason, and he had been pitching great. If the Dodgers had beaten Tim Hill, you could go, all right, you got beat, but it was the right move. But the fact that it was against Nestor, who hadn't pitched in so long, and you're giving him Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman, or you're giving him Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman, didn't make sense to me. It did not make any sense. I mean, I know Nestor got Ohtani out. I think that Boone was more inclined to go to Nestor because Nestor actually has pretty good numbers against Ohtani, but he still didn't take into account the dangers that lurk behind him in Betts and Freeman. And obviously, they intentionally walked Mookie to get to Freddie.
I just want to say one thing before that. Did anybody else know the rule, by the way, after Verdugo made that catch in the stands, essentially, and you got a 90 feet advance because you didn't come out of the stands before he threw the ball back in play?
I told you about that, but then I looked back and then I thought it must have been some other rule I was thinking about because when you catch that, you feel like it is technically in quote out of bounds. That's more because it's in the overall stands, right? And more times than not, if you're essentially in play, you'll be able to advance. But
nobody knew the rule though. That's what's insane. Like nobody, like the broadcasters didn't know it. They didn't know how to score it. The broadcast, like nobody knew.
Yeah, it was weird. It was very, very weird. And so, I mean, that was a nice play by Doogie to get the second out of the 10th inning, and the Yankees were 1 out away from stealing Game 1. And going into that series, I was thinking to myself, the Yankees have to win Game 1 because I thought that was the matchup. You had Cole on the mound against Jack Flaherty. That obviously Cole's your ace, and the Dodgers don't really have their shutdown ace in this series. So I thought Game 1 was a must-win. You got to set the tone, and you got to assert yourself as your strength basically. So when after Doogie made that catch, the Yankees intentionally walked Mookie to get to Freddie Freeman, which was another gamble because now you're putting the tying run 90 feet away, and you're putting the winning run at second base. And obviously, loading the bases, you're also putting in the danger of possibly walking in a run as well. And Nestor obviously didn't want to do that, so he wants to get ahead in the count. So he throws a meatball right down the middle to Freddie, and Freddie just pulverized it, just crushed the ball into the seats for a grand slam. And as a baseball fan, that's going to be one of the most iconic images in baseball history forever. Freddie hoisting his bat up in victory like a sword, basically like a hero, basically just leading his team to victory after a hard-fought, bloody war. That is now going to be an iconic image in Dodger history. They are going to have that image right next to Kirk Gibson for forever.
But we can say it's not the same thing, right?
Probably not. No, but still, that's going to be a lasting image for the Dodgers and their fans forever.
Well, I'm going to quickly say this is I think one of the underrated parts of that inning was the Dodgers started with the bottom part of their lineup. They had 7, 8, 9, and they had, I believe, Jay Cousins was in for that. And I told myself, I said, if the Yankees don't want to play with fire, they have to find a way to get the bottom part out right away. Because one guy gets on, right, then you have that potential where the top of the half of that lineup can maybe do some damage and possibly win it on one swing. And that walk to Gavin Lux, I think, was like, okay. Because I think you guys were up by 1.
Yes.
Simply at that. When you are facing a deep of a lineup like that, one little thing like that, yeah, you could say, well, it's a walk. Why does it matter? Yeah, it matters, of course, when you're looking at the top 3 of that lineup and you don't want to get there. And that's essentially what happened was they got there. Cousins obviously was running out of pitches, and so they had to bring another guy in. And I wholeheartedly, trying to get that word, agree with you guys on the Aaron Boone decision. Why are you bringing a guy that has not pitched and feels like a month or 2 months,
almost 40 days,
in the first game of the World Series, where essentially the Yankees were about to steal it, but instead you bring the guy in
And
with
someone needs to
bases
tell
loaded.
Aaron Boone, by the way, like in his press conferences, because he's terrible at this. Like, so they go to him and they say, "Oh, well, why'd you make that move?" "Oh, I thought we wanted a difference in matchup." Difference in matchup? The guy hasn't pitched.
And the thing was too, I don't know, Ryan, if you saw what Mookie was against Nestor in his career. I don't know, obviously those kind of stats are what are the stats. He was 0 for 5 against Nestor Cortez in his career, and they decided to intentionally walk him to a guy in Freddie Freeman that has absolutely fantastic splits against lefty on lefty or against righties with guys and bases loaded. So I told myself, and I turned to my brother, I said, is Freddie actually going to do this? And my brother's like, we'll see what happens.
What
And of
about
course,
going 0 for 3 earlier in the game, too?
yeah, no. I mean, Mookie obviously did have though that sac fly that did tie it because without that, I
That's
think you
another thing
guys,
we got to touch on actually
yeah,
quickly.
Oh, the Glaber Torres
Yes,
misfield.
yep. Every little thing I feel like in this series, like we can obviously, the Dodgers obviously had their miscues too, but in that first game that the Yankees had, that pitch that Nestor threw, it's not just the way that he pitched it; it was a legitimately in Freddie's wheelhouse,
With
legitimately
an injured leg.
middle inside, and legitimately Freddie's just like, yeah, I've probably seen that pitched a million times, and boom, right outside the park. And I agree with you, Ron. I think that was the game that if you guys were going to get, that was the first one because you knew for a fact the Dodgers probably weren't going to lose 2 in a row, the first 2, and the fact that they were able to steal that first one with Yamamoto going for game 2, it was just like, yeah, you just kind of needed it.
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say, like, Yamamoto dominated in his start when we had no idea what was going to come out of him. But just that scenario in game one where, as Yankee fans, we think, oh, wow, they're actually going to take game one and maybe they're going to gain momentum because maybe they have a chance to possibly steal game two after winning game one to go back to Yankee Stadium. And just the decision making was terrible out of the bullpen. I mean, and it kind of followed.
I think game 2, right? So if you want to, if I'll just go quickly through game 2, and you guys you can piggyback on that one. But the Yankees were getting, Yamamoto was fantastic. He was very similar to the way he was against the Mets. Well, I mean, the one he had against the Mets, he didn't go as deep, but this one he went 7 plus. His off speed was working great. His fastball command was working great. But then the Yankees got to a guy in Blake Trinan, who was one of the best closers in the game in the 9th inning, and Josh Chisholm obviously got a hit. Rizzo got hit by a pitch. And they decided to bench Austin Wells with the game on the line. 4-2, you guys were down with 2 outs. And I thought to myself, well, Wells obviously, I would trust Wells over Jose Torino, who's barely been hitting, right? He just came in for a pinch hit. Aaron Boone decides to put that in, right? And I thought to myself, eventually Wells was kind of due, right, for something, over somebody like, Jose Trevino. And they brought in Alex Vesia, who, of course, was a lefty southpaw because Trina was just losing his command like crazy in that one. And he did not even work the count, Trevino. Legitimately goes up, cracks it. And at first, I thought it was going to be a gap. I'm like, there's no way. And then, the ball was just kind of hanging there. And that was the game for the Dodgers there. But it wasn't like the Dodgers were completely offensively just tormenting you guys. It was more of the fact of, Rodon wasn't great in game 2. You guys talk about that really quick, but he gave up the homer to Freddie. He gave up the homer to Teoscar, which, by the way, was my MVP, Teoscar. Teoscar had a decent series, but it wasn't as the series I was anticipating. He obviously had some big hits. But yeah, Carlos Rodon not going deep did not do any favors for you guys in game 2.
Yeah, well, there was actually a little bit more to that 9th inning, or into game 2. Like you mentioned, Rodon was not good in game 2. Gave up 3 home runs. Juan Soto did hit a home run in game 2, off Yamamoto, and that was also the game where Otani dislocated his shoulder sliding into second
Oh,
base.
it's game 2. Okay.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty nasty. Otani tried stealing second base. I think it was the 7th or the 8th inning, and he slid awkwardly, and he hit his arm down on the ground pretty hard, and literally his arm kind of
I
like
thought he was
burned.
cooked.
in the wrong direction, and he was never the same after that for the rest of the series. He was pretty compromised from that point on, and then the ninth inning comes around, and the Yankees are trailing 4-1 going into the ninth inning, and like you mentioned, Trinan was on the mound, and the inning started off. I believe Soto started off with a walk, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Then Judge strikes out. And
Big surprise.
We're going to get to Judge later on in the episode. But Judge strikes out. Giancarlo hits a rocket down the third base line. The ball
hits third base.
Third base. Scores Soto. So now
really quick on that one that Giancarlo hit. If it did not hit the base, was he going to be out there? Because it looked like still that was going down the line.
He might have.
It was a rocket. I think he would have got a hit.
Would have gotten a hit. Yeah. But so yeah, Giancarlo doubles. They cut the deficit in half. Then Jazz gets on. I think he walked, like you mentioned.
Walked. Yeah.
And then I think it was Rizzo who got hit by a pitch. To load the bases. Then Anthony Volpe had a god awful at bat against Trinan, swinging at a pitch 20 feet outside of the strike zone for second outs. But that's a veteran pitcher taking advantage of a young rookie who's still learning. And,
even though he hit a grand slam later on in the series.
Yeah, but it was a terrible at bat from Volpe, and like you mentioned, Trevino came up, pinch hit for Wells. No matter who Boone had brought up there in that situation, I felt like it was over after Volpe struck out swinging. I just didn't like the matchup no matter what.
Well, what about giving Dominguez maybe a chance to pinch hit there? I mean, I know it's obviously.
I don't think you're doing that just because hasn't been playing. He was hurt earlier in the year.
It's like, what do you have to lose when you're down 1-0 already?
But that's what I didn't understand about Dominguez being on the roster, because he was really there, to be a speed replacement? Is that really what he was there for? I don't know.
Because I understand, like, you want to keep your top prospect. You know, if he's not ready, he's not ready. But, like,
then why is he on the roster?
There are some instances I'm like, he should be at least out there to get it.
And Ryan, like, some of the roster construction for the World Series was a little odd. Like Stroman being on this roster, and we didn't hear from him once.
Yeah, Stroman didn't make a single appearance this postseason. I mean, he was left off the Division Series roster, and he didn't pitch at all in the League Championship or World Series. But Stroman kind of fatigued as the season went on. I don't know if he would have made that much of a difference if he did pitch. I think the Yankees would only have brought him in if they were like blowing out the Dodgers, or if they were getting blown out by the Dodgers and they just needed somebody to eat some innings. So, you know, the Yankees weren't really going to be planning on going to Stroman anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, the Yankees just didn't take advantage of opportunities, and that's really what this series boiled down to. They didn't take advantage enough, and they shot themselves in the foot, one too many times. So after Game 2, obviously the Dodgers took a 2-0 lead back to Yankee Stadium for Game 3, and Game 3 was between Walker Buehler and Clark Schmidt, and I did not like that matchup for the Yankees going into Game 3. I did not like Clark Schmidt going up against that Dodger lineup, and I was saying to myself, Schmidt, I think, can only go maybe 4 innings, and I think he's only going to be able to limit the Dodgers to 2 to 3 runs minimum. Like, I think it's only a matter of didn't see Schmidt going deep into that game, especially since he's prone to fatiguing by the 4th or the 5th inning. And, you know, right away, you could tell Schmidt didn't have it. He allowed Mookie to get on base. I think he walked Ohtani on 4 pitches, I believe, to begin the game. Got Mookie out, but then gave up another home run to Freddie Freeman.
Surprise.
And just like that, the Dodgers took a 2-0 lead. And really, that was it. The Yankee offense was completely lifeless throughout Game 3. Judge was looking worse and worse with each passing at bat. And the Dodgers eventually made it 4-0 going into the 9th inning. Verdugo hit a meaningless home run in the 9th inning to cut the lead in half 4-2. And I mean, then there was only
it too, by the way. Do you guys see Verdugo? He pimped it with 2 outs in the 9th.
I love how he's chugging around the bases like he tied the game. Like that made me nuts.
I'm like Doogie, yeah. You cut the lead in half, my guy.
But you don't have a runner. I mean, like, come on.
So yeah, and then I mean, it was only a 2-run game. So the Yankees had a slight bit of hope, but Glaber grounded out to end the game. And just like that, you looked, and the Yankees were in a no 3 hole. And, obviously, we all know the story of 0-3 deficits. Only one team's ever come back from that. No team has ever come back from that in the World Series. And only a few teams were able to even force a Game 5 in a World Series after falling down 3-0. But, to the Yankees' credit, they came out swinging in Game 5. It took a while, but they did come out swinging. I mean, Freddie, of course, started Game 4. I'm sorry. They did come out swinging in Game 4. But Freddie, of course, started Game 4 with a 2-run home run off Luis Gil that barely got over the right field wall. It was a porch job.
A Yankee Stadium home run, as they
Yankee
call it.
Stadium home run.
Mhm.
But it counts. Doesn't matter.
True.
And Dodgers quickly jumped ahead 2-0. The Yankees cut the deficit in half in the bottom of the second inning after Volpe singled and Austin Wells crushed a deep fly ball to center field. And for some reason, Volpe completely misread the fly ball and was only able to advance from second to third.
Fundamentals, man.
On that fly ball, another fundamental error from the Yankees. Volpe eventually did score on an RBI ground out by Verdugo to make it 2-1. Then came the bottom of the third inning. It was still 2-1 Dodgers. The Yankees loaded the bases, and again, Anthony Volpe was at the plate, and he hit a line drive grand slam that barely got over the left field wall to give the Yankees a 5-2 lead, sending Yankee Stadium into a frenzy. Good for Volpe, local kid, grew up a Yankee fan, so that was a nice moment to see. Us definitely the highlight of the World Series for the Yankees. And the Yankees took a 5-2 lead. The Dodgers chipped away, tried to come back. Will Smith hit a home run in the top of the fifth inning off Luis Gil. And then I believe Ohtani hit an RBI single in the fifth inning as well to make it 5-4.
It was fielder's choice.
Oh, fielder's choice. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
Freddie. Yeah, Ohtani singled. Freddie Freeman hit a fielder's choice, an RBI fielder's choice.
The one time he actually made an out.
It was a conservative call at first where he was out, but then they reviewed it, and for his speed, I don't think he was necessarily hurt if he was able to beat that out. Because I mean, he was probably, but
I think his ankle healed honestly during this World Series.
Looked like the Flash the last couple of games. So,
but that's why I say it's not Kirk Gibson, because he legged out a triple in Game 1.
Well, the one about the triple though, Verdugo completely botched it. Once he botched that against the line, he was going right to third.
Yeah, but people were saying he was hurt. If he was really hurt, he wouldn't have legged out a triple in Game 1. Like, I'm just saying. But it just became tougher and tougher and tougher in this series, and then our bullpen just imploded.
Yeah. So after in Game 4 I was at, the Dodgers cut it to 5-4, but the Yankees eventually started to pull away. Austin Wells hit a bomb of a home run in the sixth inning. And then the Yankees put up a 5 spot in the bottom of the eighth inning, thanks in part to a 3-run home run from Gleyber Torres. And the Yankees blew out the Dodgers 11-4 in Game 4 to send the series to a Game 5. It was the first time, I believe, since 1970 that a team that was down 3-0 in a World Series forced to Game 5. The last team to do that was the 1970 Reds, who eventually fell in 5 games to the Orioles.
Wow.
So it had been a long time since the team was able to do that. And then we get to Game 5. And it was a rematch of Game 1. Jack Flaherty for the Dodgers, Garrett Cole for the Yankees. And the Yankees were all over Jack Flaherty. Aaron Judge finally woke up, hit a 2-run home run in the first inning. Jazz Chisholm went back-to-back with him. He hit a solo home run to right field. And just like that, you blinked and it was 3-0. The Yankees made it 4-0 on an RBI single in the second by Verdugo, and that knocked Flaherty out of the game. And the Yankees added another run in the third inning with a solo home run by Giancarlo Stanton. I think that was Stanton's 5th or 6th home run of the postseason, something like that. Seventh home run of the postseason. And that was his 18th career postseason home run. And I think he's now third or fourth all time in home runs on the Yankees postseason home run list. I think he's only behind Jeter, Bernie, and Mantle. I think
he passed Ruth earlier in the postseason.
I know that, yeah. But I think he's only behind. He's only behind like 2 or 3 guys now, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. So yeah, I mean, just like that, It was 5-0 Yankees, and Garrett Cole was cruising. And I'd be lying to you if I told you I wasn't feeling good about our chances. Then the 5th inning happened, and man, oh man, what an inning this was. So first of all, Cole no-hit the Dodgers through the first 4 innings, and
He looked dominant.
he looked absolutely filthy. It looked like the Dodgers couldn't touch him. And I remember, like, the inning before, I think it was the 4th inning or something like that, they interviewed Dave Roberts in the dugouts, and Roberts was saying, I'm going to manage this game, like, conservatively and, like, from what I'm watching with my own eyes. I'm going to, like...
Oh, I didn't get to that part.
Something like that.
I hated this. You're talking about the bullpen game, essentially.
Basically. But, yeah, so the 5th inning rolls around. Like I mentioned, Cole had retired, I believe, 12 of the 13 batters that he had faced, without allowing any traffic. The only traffic that he had allowed was a walk to Mookie Betts prior to that. Begins with a single by Kike Hernandez. And, you're thinking to yourself, all right, the Dodgers were due to get a hit at some point. They're too good of an offense not to get no hits. Next batter's Tommy Edman. Edman hits a soft fly ball to center field. Aaron Judge, who an inning prior made an amazing catch, robbing Freddie Freeman of a double, inexplicably drops the ball. Judge is one of the most sure-handed outfielders in baseball, and for him to just drop an easy fly ball like that doesn't happen. He never does that.
It was literally off the glove, quite literally.
Right off the glove. But what happened was Judge was too concerned looking at Kike at first base. He for a split second, he took his eye off the ball to look at Kike at first. And that kind of cost him. By the time he looked back at the ball was already at his glove, and he didn't have enough time to squeeze his glove to record the outs. And the ball bounced off his glove. Kike took second base. Edman stayed at first. And just like that, the Dodgers had runners at first and second and nobody outs. And then the next batter, I think it was Will Smith, he had a ground ball in the hole to Anthony Volpe at short. And it was kind of a tough play for Volpe, but he went the way he should have went. He went to third base, but it was not a good throw. He kind of spiked the ball. Chisholm couldn't control it or couldn't corral it. And just like that, bases loaded, nobody outs. And you could feel like you could hear a pin drop in the stadium. Everybody was now biting their fingernails. And now it was Gavin Lux coming to the plate with nobody outs and the bases loaded. And Cole, dug deep and he struck out Lux. And then he struck out Shohei Ohtani for the second out. And here he was, 1 out away from getting out of a bases loaded, nobody out jam. And then Mookie comes to the plate. And Mookie hits a soft chopper to first base. And Anthony Rizzo and Garrett Cole, there was miscommunication or something. Cole thought that Rizzo was going to take himself and step on the bag. Rizzo expected Cole to cover first. And as a result, none of them got to first base. The only guy who got to first base was Mookie. And the Yankees just give away a run right then and there to the Dodgers. And it was 5-1. And at that point, I could see the ship sinking quickly.
And I think Rizzo was wrong there. Like, the first baseman has to be the one covering in that situation.
Well, both guys need to be running towards first base regardless.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you totally. But in that situation, Cole, I don't think you can't trust Cole to make his way over to first completely on that play.
I mean, but Rizzo's not fast at all either. Mookie's fast. Both of these guys need to be running towards first base regardless. And then they eventually got to make it.
Sorry to cut you off, Ryan. I feel like by the time that ball that Mookie hit to Rizzo with his glove, Mookie was already close to first base. And I'm like, where was Cole?
But there was no urgency to get to first base. I think that's the key word we're missing here. So he fields the ball. He's taking his time getting to first base.
Yeah, I mean, it was miscommunication. It's on both guys. I blame both guys equally. I blame Rizzo equally, and I blame Cole equally.
But then it unraveled after that.
Oh, boy, did it unravel. And Garrett Cole, who's known to unravel when things don't go his way, completely fell apart. He gave up an RBI single to Freeman and then an RBI double to Teoscar. And just like that, it was 5-5. And at that point, I thought to myself, we're losing this game. I didn't really have much hope moving forward. The Yankees actually did take the lead again on a sacrifice fly by Stanton in the 6th inning. And then, though, in the 8th inning, it was still 6-5 Yankees. But the Yankees brought in Tommy Kahnle, which I did not like at all. Canley is only throwing a changeup. He's not going to fool any Dodger hitters. And the Dodgers loaded the bases on him with nobody outs. So Canley had nothing. And then the Yankees went to Luke Weaver. Weaver gave up a sacrifice fly to
he did.
Well, that was for the 7th run though. The sacrifice fly to Mookie was the 7th run. I'm trying to remember.
No, it was two back. It was sacrifice on back to back.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Muncy and Betts.
Okay, Muncy and Betts. All right.
Yeah, but you got to blame that on Canley for the way he pitched in that inning. I don't think you can blame Weaver.
So Canley, I mean, he walked. So he gave up a leadoff hit, and then there was Tommy Edman got an infield single. But it was weird how the Yankees were positioning him. Chisholm was guarding the third baseline. I feel like he should have been playing like
off the bag
for a double play. Like I didn't like that at all either. And yeah, I mean, and also in the 9th inning, it was still tied at 6. And another bad play by the Yankees. Austin Wells, catcher's interference. 3rd error of the game for the Yankees.
That was very close, though, when you look at the replay.
Well, it was, though. When you look at the in-close camera shot, because I thought originally it wasn't. But then they get another in-close camera shot, and you see the break of Austin Wells' glove when Shohei hit with the bat. So I'm like,
I feel like, though, in the World Series, you kind of got to let that one go. Though, I feel like that when we don't want the ump show. Like, let him play.
And another thing, too, if you guys remember Luke Weaver, he tried to pick off in the 9th inning, and he had that violation.
He forgot the amount of throws he made to first base, which is, again, another fundamental error.
You're kidding me, man.
I mean, I'm not crazy about that rule to begin with either.
I'm not either.
But Weaver was so gassed at that point. He was having a hard time throwing strikes and concentrating. I think he just was – I think he was out of it. I think
the catalyst of this whole thing again was Canley not being sharp.
Yeah, Canley had nothing, and the Dodgers took the lead 7-6 after the top of the 8th inning. The Yankees tried to come back in the bottom of the 8th. Judge hit a 1-out double, and then I think Chisholm walked, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And the Yankees had runners on first and second with 1 out. The Dodgers brought in I think it was Trinan. Trinan was still in the game. Trinan was in the game. But Stanton popped up to right field on the first pitch he saw. And then Anthony Rizzo had a really bad at-bat, swinging out a breaking ball in the dirt at his knees. Rizzo had a rough series. He did not look good at all this whole series.
I mean, to be fair, Ryan, I agree with you about Rizzo, but the pitch that he struck on was nasty.
It was disgusting.
That was absolutely disgusting.
His sweeper is like they said it was like 10 to 12 inches of break.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's hitting that pitch the way that was.
Nobody was hitting that pitch. You're right. Trinan's got good stuff. But, the Yankees squandered another opportunity. Once they didn't score in the 8th, I knew they had no chance going into the 9th. Yankees went down 1-2-3 in the 9th. The final out was Alex Verdugo striking out, swinging. And Walker Buehler got the last 3 outs. And the Dodgers partied on Yankee Stadium soil last night and to win the World Series. And
by the way that inning went was like a microcosm of the way the whole series has gone, where the Yankees can't stop swinging over breaking balls the whole series. I don't understand. And I think I said this to Ben when we were talking about this series, that if I'm the Dodgers, I would just keep throwing Aaron Judge a breaking ball until he hits it. Why would you throw him a fastball? Which they did, and he homered. Like, no need. Just keep throwing it to him.
I mean, Judge, and Ryan, I know you were going to talk about Judge, but Judge actually was one of their better hitters the last couple of games, and he did start a potential rally in that 8th inning on a breaking ball. That was actually not a bad pitch. It was actually more middle. It was in the inner third, I'd say, and he cranked it. So, but of course, right, Judge kind of, once he kind of started to get things going, then he dropped that fly ball in the 5th inning. So it's honestly like a lot of stuff that was going great for him, boom, something happened like that. And, it's hard to kind of put all the blame on him per se, right? Things, of course, kind of happened there. It wasn't just all him. But when you're one of the best players on your overall team, he was saying after the game that this World Series loss is going to hurt him till the day he dies. And I'm like, okay, well, if you were maybe a show, maybe in the first couple games.
That's a little melodramatic, don't you think?
Well, I actually just wanted to touch on that quickly. I mean, you're right, Ben. Judge finally started to show the player that he was in the last really from his last at bat in Game 4 when he had that
Yeah.
RBI single in the 8th inning.
Oh, yeah.
He looked like Aaron Judge at the
Mhm.
plate in Game 5. I think he reached base all 4 times he came to the plate, if I'm not mistaken. He had a great game from an offensive perspective, and he made that nice play by Freeman. However, I gotta tell you, Judge, he's done wonders for the Yankees ever since coming up to the big leagues. He's obviously going to have his number retired by the Yankees, and he'll probably get a plaque at Monument Park, and he may even go to the Hall of Fame. But I'll tell you, that drop fly ball, that's a part of his legacy forever. That he's never going to be able to get rid of that. From now on, when for the rest of his career, when the Yankees are on the road, he's going to have people heckling him from the outfield at Fenway Park, Camden Yards, wherever the
Oh,
Yankees
yeah.
go.
Everywhere.
They're going to remind him of that drop fly ball
And
that he had.
deservedly so. I mean, like,
I mean, you can't do that. You
Yeah.
cannot. You cannot do that. And let's be honest, Judge had a terrible postseason. He had another bad postseason.
Except for the one home run against Class A in the Guardians series.
He hits 2 dramatic home runs in the postseason, and now they're a distant memory. No one's going to remember
so the
them.
biggest thing, and I told Nick this, Ron, but did you get the chance on the broadcast? They were showing in the first couple games the stance that Aaron Judge had compared to
Oh,
the
you're
stance
talking
that
about
he
the
had.
swing track, right?
Yeah, so his feet essentially were kind of like this, split apart, and he was more in the back of the batter's box. But
Yeah.
then he brought his feet more back together in the last couple games in front of the batter's box. I'm like, huh, that kind of, because he was really laying off, he was swinging a lot of the breaking balls. The Dodgers kind of kept pitching him away. And then when you kind of go up, from the plate and you kind of put your feet kind of next to each other and he started kind of laying off, I'm like, oh, makes sense, right?
Yeah,
So,
but there's another thing also when they were showing the pitch track of where his swing was. He was swinging on top of the breaking ball and under the fastball. They were showing like his timing was off. So whatever happened between the regular season and the postseason, his timing really just changed. And there's another stat out there, which I think you two would like also, which I didn't realize until they mentioned it. Do you realize the Dodgers did not have a 100-inning pitcher all season?
no.
What does that
Well,
tell you about the starting pitching? Well, one, that it was hurt, and one, it was not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real here. I mean, the Dodgers won the World Series, but let's be honest, they didn't really do much.
They didn't.
No, the
Yeah,
Yankees.
people were talking about they absolutely crushed them. And even from like my standpoint,
Otani
They-
did nothing too.
I mean, on his front, he was definitely hurt though, to be fair.
No, but here's the other thing, and Ryan, I think you can relate to this too. When I saw it on social media, that people were getting on Judge because he just was not hitting whatsoever. He was like 2 of 15 going into Game 5. By any chance, and the reason I bring that 2 for 15 up, did you see what Shohei Otani's numbers were going into that?
They were the same.
The same. But people are giving more garbage to
Well,
Judge than they are to Otani.
I understand it, right? Shohei obviously was not good at all in the World Series, but you also have to take into account that Judge in the ALCS outside of the Class A stuff really was the non-factor. Shohei, at least against the Mets, kind of in the last couple of games with Mookie, kind of did carry them. So I can understand it. He wasn't great per se, but I can understand kind of the overall argument between that.
And also, I mean, Judge has always struggled in the postseason. I mean, that's just
Yeah,
people
It's
were
his
hoping,
MO.
and
Mm.
people were hoping that he would finally, break that trend this year, and he didn't. Besides Game 5, I mean, he did not have a good postseason again. And like I mentioned, now unfortunately, the lasting image of Judge from this postseason is going to be him dropping that fly ball that helps kickstart that rally for the Dodgers. And like I mentioned, that's now it's a stain on his legacy. Unfortunately, it is. You can't tell me not, because that really was a key in the Dodger. He helped open the door for the Dodgers to allow them to come back, but the Yankees just did not play good. The you guys obviously have seen the movie Moneyball, right?
Yes.
Remember the ending when the A's lose to the Twins, and the narrator says what the Minnesota Twins exposed were that the Oakland A's were fundamentally not a sound baseball
Yes.
team.
Absolutely.
Same applies with the Yankees here. The Yankees were not a fundamentally sound baseball team. They made way too many mistakes in the field this year. Were one of the worst fielding teams in Major League Baseball this year. Were an absolutely atrocious base running team this year. Got picked off way too many times. Made too many outs on the bases. They could hit home runs, and that's what they are known for. Sure, they led the league. They led the league in home runs, I think, or were second.
I think they were second. Yeah,
only behind Baltimore, if I'm not
yes.
mistaken. Second in the league in home runs, and they have good starting pitching. But when it comes to fundamentals and basics that you're taught from Little League moving forward throughout your professional career, they severely lack them. They were not a fundamentally sound baseball team. They did not play clean, crisp baseball, and they did not deserve to win this series at all with the way they played.
I mean, can we talk about, because I think we forgot to talk about it before, but the throw from Soto to Gleyber Torres.
Another example.
Now, people are blaming Soto for the bad throw, but Gleyber's got to go put his body in front of that throw and cut it off, right?
Oh, the attempt was so weak. It was so weak.
Another instance of Gleyber going off in La La Land.
And Ben and I talked about this quite a bit, actually, because I asked him about it. You were saying, Ben, from a catcher's perspective, because you had played the position, that you thought Gleyber, the angle of Gleyber kind of messed up that play, right?
So, if I'm a catcher, right, which I did play a lot, because I felt like a lot of the teams that I was on, a lot of people didn't want to catch. Obviously people were worried they were going to get trampled or something happened. But for me to get a lot of playing time, that's what I did. I was a catcher and I loved it. But yeah, I thought it was the two things. You can make an argument, just like Ryan was saying with Rizzo and Cole. Soto didn't make a great throw, but Torres should have also had a better attempt of getting in front of the ball. And essentially, since that didn't happen, I saw Shohei start running over to third. I'm like, whoa. Shohei just wanted to start running to third like that without nothing over there. And he's such a smart overall guy. I mean, it must have been a boneheaded thing if somebody was there and he was going to be thrown out by like 100 feet. And once Torres dropped it, I'm like, all right. So Shohei went to third. In that case, they got the time run in at that point in time. If Torres gets in front of that, you never know.
That happened a few times, though, in the World Series where they missed the cutoff guy. Quite a few times, and that led to extra bases. And I think the couple of times the Dodgers scored a run off the moving of the base.
With the Yankees fundamentals throughout the regular season, I think that they were able to I'm not saying get away with a lot of that type of stuff, but once you start to get a team like this, right, a team that essentially has all this type of talent, all this type of star power, and you start to play like this, it's like kind of like a movie scene, right? Where it's just like, I'm here, Johnny, or kind of like, all right, you crack a little bit, I'm coming. And that's what the Dodgers were. Like, they kind of just saw something, especially like you mentioned around that fifth inning. And once that Edman got on, I was watching, obviously I was doing the stream. I'm like, all right, it's probably, I feel like Cole kind of laid down, especially after the striking out Shohei. And then the Mookie ball, I was just like, all right, that looks like it's going to be a play by Rizzo. And then it's honestly like, the controller on the PlayStation didn't switch or something. So
it was that was inexcusable. It was an inexcusable inning. It was an inexcusable performance. And I'll tell you this right now. A couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the League Division Series recaps, and I said the Phillies have a lot of question marks. Oh boy, did the Yankees have a lot of question marks going into this offseason. Obviously, the biggest story going into this offseason for the Yankees is going to be whether or not Juan Soto will come back next season. He's a free agent, and he's one of many free agents the Yankees have. He's a free agent. Gleyber Torres is a free agent. Rizzo's contract is up. He does have an option, but the Yankees are most likely not going to pick that up. Clay Holmes is a free agent. Definitely won't see him back. Canley's a free agent. Definitely won't see him back. And I'll tell you, this, in last week's episode, I said that I felt like there was more pressure on the Yankees to win this World Series than the Dodgers because this was probably their last chance with this core group of players to win something. If they made it to the World Series, they had to win it because I think, moving forward, the Yankees are going to have to do a little bit of rebuilding and retooling. I think you're going to have to bring some guys up from the minor leagues and give them a shot. I think Ben Rice is probably going to be the Yankees starting first baseman next year. He's going to have to learn how to play first base on a full-time basis now. I think Dominguez is finally going to be a full-time outfielder next year. Where the Yankees put him is yet to be determined because we don't know if Soto's coming back or not. I mean, Giancarlo and Garrett Cole, they're getting older. I don't know how much more great years you're going to have from either of them.
Well, Cole's got the opt-out too, no?
Cole has the opt-out, yes.
He'll opt out, but it's more of a leverage for.
I don't think it's that simple though for him to opt out because I don't know if he's going to get that money going back out on the market.
I don't know either, but I could see.
He'll definitely stay. I don't see he doesn't.
I do think he'll stay, but yeah, I mean, the Yankees got a lot of. It's gonna be a very different Yankee team next season.
Verdugo's also free agent.
I don't think that really matters, to be quite honest, though.
I know. I was just going through the names. I'm like, you want to put up Verdugo?
Who gives a crap, honestly?
Well, I wanted to say one thing about Soto.
They gave you a Tunde, kind of with you guys.
Right. Well, him signing with the White Sox and going into the deep, dark abyss over in
he could join an attendee.
Yeah. But the whole Soto thing, like, is the bidding the Shohei Ohtani number? Is that what we're talking about here? And more?
I think he's going to probably get around 550 to 600 mil.
Yeah.
Well, we all know who his agent is.
But I do think he's going to get some very, very nice offers. I expect it to either come down to the Yankees or the Mets still. I know there was a report that the Dodgers would be interested in bringing him.
Do you know how silly that sounded during the World Series that got reported?
I'm not surprised.
Not surprised, though.
But I don't think he's going to the Dodgers, though. I think he prefers playing for an East Coast team. So I still think it's either going to be Yankees or Mets. And for the Dodgers, I mean, they have all the riches in the world. And I hate to break it to baseball fans, the Dodgers aren't going away anytime soon.
That would be an embarrassment of riches, right? Almost.
Yes.
And they got Ohtani to pitch next year. Roki Sasaki is already potentially going to come back to them. If
the Dodgers could very well be an actual repeat champion dynasty.
Who was the pitcher that had Tommy John surgery that they got from the Rays?
Glasnow.
So he could come back too.
I talked about Glasnow.
Yeah, the Dodgers' future looks very bright for them, and LA gets to party with a parade for the first time in 36 years. It's crazy to think it's been that long since they've actually had a World Series parade.
That is wild.
Given all the talented teams that organization has put out there all these years, and it took them till 2024 to finally get over the hump and win a 162 game World Series. But they did it, and you know what? You got to give them credit. They had a tough road to get there. They were down 2-1 to the Padres in the NLDS, and they shut down that Padre offense for the final 2 games of that series. And they carried that momentum into the NLCS against the Mets. And, the Dodgers got revenge on both of those teams. The Mets beat the Dodgers in the 2015 NLDS. And the Padres, like I mentioned, ruined the Dodgers' 111-win season 2 years ago. So they got revenge on both teams. And the Dodgers get another one-up on the Yankees in the World Series. The overall World Series stats now are 8-4 in favor of the Yankees in that World Series matchup. And, I think that basically covers what I have to say about this World Series and what I have to say about the Dodgers and the Yankees. I don't know if you guys want to add anything else.
Yeah, just really want to quickly just touch on, Ryan, what the hell of the ride that we had of baseball season. I know that, it sucks for you guys the way they kind of ended, but it also just sucks for baseball fans because now baseball's done. And now we obviously have, I know we have the off season, the hostile stuff, but I was doing my other show last night with a buddy of mine who, funny enough, is a Dodger fan, and another buddy of mine, Isaiah, Nick, by the way. I was talking to him last night. And I just said, because he worked for the A's. I said we were kind of just recapping the season, and he said, he said working for the A's was one of the biggest things of his part of his season, because of course they're going to be moving. Of course the Tropicana field got damaged unfortunately by the hurricane. So just a lot of really crazy things that happened throughout the year. Ryan, hopefully we get to run this back next year, my friend, 2025. We got the chance to meet each other during the season as well, which was awesome for the Red Sox and Yankees. So just a lot of great memories. And Nick, we can't thank you enough for making this possible. And definitely would love to do this again. Ready for another year of some great baseball ahead of us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this show. Well, especially we'll have some off-season stuff, obviously, when the hot stuff starts and all that. All the news and notes come down. We'll give you some videos in the meantime. But the show will take off a little bit in the off season to kind of catch up on everything. And Ryan remembers going through some of the iterations of this show a little bit and some changes and everything. And now I think we've found the sweet spot of how this show is going to be in the future. So I'm looking forward to how this show goes, and you'll see a best of for this show at the end of the year also, because there's a lot of different news and headlines that happened through the Major League Baseball season. So there's more than enough.
We started with like Shohei Ohtani's the gambling stuff that happened
from the year he's had.
From injuries. I feel like, Ryan, you were the doctor of us throughout the overall show, giving us the injury report, which we can't thank you enough for that.
No problem. My PhD came in handy.
And just everything, every weekly type of thing. We unfortunately did have some passings throughout the year that we did talk about as well. So, but yeah, everything from the good, from the bad, to the tough, to the ugly. We got through it all, and we couldn't do it without. I couldn't do it without Ryan and without you, Nick.
Yeah, and with our partner at Playback, we'll be able to watch more baseball games next year because that deal's on the table now. So we will have baseball games fully in 2025. I think starting with spring training, if people watch spring training. But no, I'm looking forward to the next season. It's hard to believe that the MLB season is over. So
it really is. You just kind of blink, and now we're going to be in November, and November, obviously, with like winter sports. I know, Ryan, you're saying you're working for the Dominican Baseball League, so hopefully I get to watch some of that because I'm gonna miss baseball, so I'm gonna kind of miss the gripes of just watching something. So I'll try to watch some of that and see how that is.
I mean, the day that
the
day this records, like we're 2 months away from the new year. I mean, so. We'll see what happens, but I'll let you finish this out so you can finish the last episode.
Yeah, well, thank you, everybody, for tuning into this episode of Hitting for the Cycle, and thank you, everybody, who have been with us from the very first day of this 2024 season. We really appreciate it. It means a lot to us, and we hope to see you guys again soon down the road. So on behalf of Ben Kruse and Nick Morgasen, I'm Ryan Touhey. Have a good one.